This video is intended to help you install tcrdist3 on your machine if you're a Mac user. This is the GitHub page for the project, and before you run this command pip install tcrdist3, it's helpful to make sure that your Python environment is configured properly. So if you open the terminal and type into the console Python 3, you'll see the version of Python you currently have installed. We recommend having Python version 3.85 or higher installed. And if you have an older version, you can easily upgrade by going to the python.org version page, and then at the bottom of that page select the Mac OS 64-bit installer, follow those instructions, and install Python fresh on your machine. In addition, it's helpful if you don't already have it installed already to add Xcode, which is free software from Apple, which includes some C compilers. If you look in the tcrdist3 setup.py file, you'll see a list of all of the required dependencies. One that users have some trouble with installing is Parasail, and so we'll install that here before the overall install. One way to make sure that your installation of tcrdist3 doesn't cause any conflicts with other Python projects or environments that you have running is to use what's called a virtual environment. That allows you to isolate a set of dependencies for a given project away from the rest of your Python environment, and we'll go through that now. So to do that, type Python 3 with the flag M and then venv, and then you'll need to name your virtual environment. So we'll name ours tcr3. And when you run that, what happens is there is a folder created. So this tcr3 is created, and in the library you'll see Python 3.8 site packages. And at first, only the modules pip and setup tools is here and little else. And so even if you use Python routinely, once you activate this virtual environment, those are the only submodules that are available. So let's do that now. So we can activate that virtual environment by typing source and then the name of the virtual environment, that folder, bin, and then activate. And you'll see in parentheses tcr3 indicating that we're now within that virtual environment. So if you type Python 3 and then try to import, for instance, pandas, even if it exists elsewhere on your machine, you'll get a module not found error because that dependency does not yet exist within the virtual environment. So we'll start by installing Parasail. And in the setup, we recommend the version 1.117. So to install that specifically, we'll type pip3 install, and then Parasail on the specific version. That may take a second, but now if we type Python 3 and import Parasail, we see that that module has been added to our virtual environment. And we can look in the file structure directly, and we see that both Parasail and NumPy, its dependency, have been added to our virtual environment. Now we're ready to install tcrdist3, so we can run this command. pip3 install tcrdist3, and it will download and install the required dependencies. Now that that's installed, we can test our installation. If you go to the tcrdist3 read the docs page, you'll see that we oftentimes use this -csv. This is TCR data from the Dash et al. Study, specifically the mouse TCR data. So you can download that here, and we have that file already available. So within your virtual environment, start Python, and then you can just copy and paste code from the documentation. What's occurring here, we're first importing pandas, Then we are importing the central class tcrrep from tcrdist repertoire. We're loading the data as a pandas data frame and then passing that data frame to the tcrrep class. This instance of that class tr will automatically compute the pairwise distances for both alpha and beta chains, which we can access through the attributes pairwise alpha or tr pairwise beta. The specific distances between CDR3s can also be accessed. So for instance, if we want to see distances between the CDR3 beta chain, we can type in pairwise CDR3b _ AA for amino acid, and we get that there. These pairwise matrices can be exported as CSVs or as NumPy formatted arrays, as NPZ files, and there's plenty of examples in the documentation of how to do that. If all this still hasn't allowed you to install tcrdist3, please watch our video about running tcrdist3 within a Docker container. Thanks.